I feel like we managed one in about 40-45 minutes once.
Could do the record today.
It could be. Test, test. I think I'm going to turn myself down a bit.
Did you get a ticket for the, you got your
Yeah.
ticket already, eh?
Yeah.
I'll get mine after. Lynn's told me to ask you to be my date.
Okay. What number is your mic?
2. Test, test. I don't know why I make that sound. It's a weird one. It's like I'm calling I'm trying to lure
Test,
a
test.
hamster over or
That's
something.
better.
There's places are few and far between to hide.
This is nice though.
All right, welcome everyone. The May 13th, 2025 regular council meeting is called to order at 4 o'clock. Council would like to acknowledge the Yukluathot on whose traditional territories the District of Ukluit operates. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Are there any late items? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the May 13th, 2025 regular council meeting as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Anderson,
Second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Do we have Councillor Mafty on Zoom? Is he there? He's just not promoted? Councillor Mafty, can you hear us? Well, we'll continue. We have quorum. There are 2 sets of meeting minutes for adoption. Are there any errors or omissions for either of these meeting minutes? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the April 29th, 2025 regular council meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Anderson moves.
A second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Welcome, Councillor Mafty. May I have a motion? May I have a motion to receive the May 6th, 2025 regular Committee of the Whole meeting minutes as presented?
So moved.
Councillor Hoare.
Second.
Councillor Anderson seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. And thank you for the notice that we don't adopt Committee of the Whole minutes. We receive them, so that's a new process for us. There are 2 bylaw items on our agenda. The first bylaw is the Fire Department Establishment Operations Bylaw number 1379, and it will be presented by our Fire Chief, Mr. Geddes.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor. Thanks for allowing me to present you the draft bylaw, Fire Department Establishment and Operations Bylaw for first, second, and third reading today. The rationale for updating the fire bylaw is twofold. The big driver is the introduction of the Fire Safety Act provincially last year that has new language and has discontinued some of the old terminology. So it's important that we stay current in that, as well as just a refresh of the bylaw that we had. It was written in 2019. It was actually the first bylaw that I'd ever written, and it was time for a little reset anyways on that. So that's the rationale behind this. The Fire Safety Act stipulates that municipalities must, a local authority must designate in writing a person or class of persons as fire inspectors to conduct fire safety inspections, as well as a person or class of persons as fire investigators. So the new bylaw will encompass that. That terminology can be done either simply through a resolution or included in a bylaw such as this. So I felt it was appropriate to include that in our new bylaw. Notable changes reflected in this draft bylaw include the addition of several new definitions that are referenced in the Act that weren't previously referenced in our legislature. We removed all reference to the local assistant of the fire commissioner, which is terminology used under the old Fire Services Act. That language is no longer used, and that appointment is no longer used as local assistants. And then review and modernization of the language, including several definitions, including the name of the fire department and such things as EMBC has since updated their name to EMCR a couple of years ago. Under jurisdiction, we added the addition of automatic mutual aid, which is an agreement we've had with Tofino long before I got here, but wasn't referenced in our previous bylaws. Removed ambiguous and repetitive language that was in the previous bylaw regarding burning restrictions, and that's language that's duplicated in our outdoor burning bylaw. Under authorized services, I've added in emergency scene traffic control, which is a service that we're trained, qualified to do, but technically not authorized to do, and all departments do it. So minor technicality, but it's in there now. So, and the addition of language that designates the fire chief as the fire inspector and fire investigator as required in the Act. Now, the bylaw would also authorize me to dedicate alternate inspectors and investigators, provided they're qualified, and that's in the definition in the new bylaw. Streamline language by utilizing all-encompassing terms such as premise and fire hazards. Again, those are new definitions that are in the definition section. I've added the terminology of occupier. So a lot of the code references talk about a owner or occupier. So not necessarily the owner that has to achieve compliance. It could be the occupier, renter, leaseholder, such and similar. And then I've removed the language in the old bylaw regarding owner and occupier responsibilities, as that's duplicated in the BC Fire Code, and it's not really required in the bylaw. So on to analysis of options. So hopefully today council will provide for second, third reading. That'll ensure we continue to be compliant with the British Columbia Fire Safety Act, although not entirely necessary. This would provide a modern, streamlined fire department establishment bylaw that accurately reflects current and best practice and satisfies new provincial legislation. No obvious downside to passing the motion. And other than staff time, there's no financial implications. It's already all done. Option B, council provides alternate direction. If council has anything they'd like to change, I'm happy to do that. And that's easy to do. No obvious downside in council providing alternate direction as long as any proposed changes align with current legislation. And then there's a suggested motion. And then should council not want to proceed with first, second, and third reading, there's no obvious advantage in defeating the motion. Current bylaw would continue to grow more outdated over time. A designation of fire inspector and fire investigator would require separate resolutions for the district to comply with requirements of the Fire Safety Act. And no significant financial implications should council defeat the motion. Next steps. So again, provided we get first, second, and third reading today, draft bylaw would be presented for adoption at the next council meeting. Should council provide alternate direction, then give draft bylaw first, second, third reading. The draft bylaw would be presented for adoption at the next council meeting. And then should council defeat the motion, resolutions are still required as discussed in order to designate the class of fire inspectors and fire investigators. Happy to go through any pieces of the bylaw council wishes to.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Mr. Geddes? Seeing none, would anyone like to make a motion?
I can do that.
Councillor Anderson?
First of all, thank you for doing this. I'm sure you had a lot of other things to do, and this is like predominantly clerical, and I guess in tidying this up. So cheers for doing that. I'll move that council give first, second, and third reading to the District of Ucluelet Fire Department Establishment and Operations Bylaw number 1379, 2025.
Do I have a seconder?
I will second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed. That carries. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you very much.
The second bylaw is the temporary borrowing bylaw, and it will be presented by our Director of Finance, Mr. Cadman.
Thank you, Mayor. So on August 16th, 2022, Council adopted the loan authorization bylaw number 1304 to authorize the District of Ucluelet to borrow up to $13 million to finance the construction of a water treatment system. At the time, the estimated cost of the project was just under $21 million, with the district receiving a grant of just over $7 million. Due to the changes in the project and with construction prices normalizing after the COVID-19 pandemic, the prices has come down between 10.5 to 13, depending on how much of the contingency we use. So this bylaw is to allow us to use temporary borrowing, which would essentially be a construction loan, and then that will roll into long-term borrowing once we know the full cost of the project. The reason to use temporary borrowing is because if we lock in excessive debt, that's expensive to carry that extra debt for 25 years. It's cheaper to pay the short-term interest rather than lock in excessive debt. So basically a construction loan just to get us through, and then we'll roll it into long-term debt. If there's any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Seems pretty straightforward. Any questions for staff? No, seeing none, would council like to make a motion?
I can do that.
Councillor Anderson?
I'll move that council give first, second, and third readings to temporary borrowing bylaw number 1378, 2025.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I will second that.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Cadman. There are 3 report items this evening. The first report is new fire hall design grant application, and it will be presented by the fire chief, Mr. Geddes.
Through the mayor. I feel like it's all about fire department today.
It is.
That's great. As you're aware, council approved $100,000 actually last year for design of a new fire hall. We started the process and early on realized that that's probably, we need to start looking for some alternate means of getting more money. So came across a funding opportunity through the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund. For funding of a design and all the pre-studies that's required in design and building of a new fire hall, which qualifies under their funding stream. So I've been working diligently on that, working on the application. We've, with Mr. Cadman's help, we've been working on the pre-application, was just ticking all the boxes to see if we actually should be chasing this. And we're at a point now in the application process where it requires a resolution of council, obviously, to provide support that in this chase of this money. So it's quite a bit of process. It's been a long haul working on this grant. So we're hoping to see some tangible results soon here. There are 2 parts of the funding stream as detailed on the second page of my report there. So the first funding stream that we're in process right now is for the design, and that includes things like a study on the actual location, nailing down the location, establishment of an energy use intensity and thermal energy demand, ensuring we're hitting the correct targets because it's through the Green Municipal Fund, embodied carbon analysis study, climate risk, and create a risk mitigation plan. So all those things need to be done as part of the application that we're applying for, which adds extra cost, but is also covered in the funding stream. So the $100,000, we're basically going to be able to stretch that a lot farther and tick all these boxes, regardless if we actually get the funding or successful in the next stage, which is actually to build the fire hall. The funding stream doesn't provide 100% funding to build it. It's detailed in here, but it does provide low interest funding and some grant funds up to 15%, I believe, on the actual build cost of the building. So the taxpayer would see significant savings in the overall request tax burden on the construction of the facility. So basically today, just looking for a resolution of support for the grant. The motion is in there. Analysis of options. So the pros of applying for the grant, of course, we apply and receiving the study grant would provide the district with up to $160,000 in grant funding. And then we would leverage the $40,000 that we already have. And it would still give us some money to play with of the original $100,000 that we do have allocated to this project, because there will be some other things most likely that come up, and we'll have those funds available. Scope of work required for grant eligibility is work that should be undertaken regardless, whether we're building now or building 5-10 years from now. So this would put us in a good position whether we do build it as we have in the current 5-year plan, or if it should get delayed or another funding stream comes available, we'd have a shovel-ready project basically ready to go. So if the district applies for and receives a study grant, funds received could be used to retain third-party support to advance the project. So been working with consultants on this, what it looks like. We're getting into the point of the application where it's a little bit above my knowledge base and pay scale as a fire chief when we're talking about green initiatives. I know enough just to be dangerous. It's probably not a good thing. So we hope to retain some experts and get us across that finish line. I think Mr. Cadman's probably in the same boat. He's very good at what he does, but we're getting a little bit outside of our realm now. So sorry, I should not speak for Mr. Cadman. If the district receives a study grant, there would be some additional staff time involved in reporting back to the funder, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, of course, on project progress. Financial implications: applying for and receiving a study grant would involve no negative significant implications and some significant positive implications. The current economic uncertainty in Canada could result in an injection of federal grant funding for build-ready capital projects, and this would put us in a position to apply for some of those other funding models that come along. Suggested motion in the middle. If we don't apply for the study grant, would result in fewer external commitments related to the fire hall replacement project. It would free up a lot of my time, but this is obviously near and dear and very important to myself and the community as well, moving forward long after I'm here. Cons: not applying for and receiving the study grant could result in the district needing to allocate more district funds to advance the project to funding ready state. So we have some money, but we just don't have enough there to get all the ducks in a row to actually start building. And then not applying implications: not applying for the study could result in the project not advancing and or the project requiring further allocation of capital funding to advance it to a funding ready state. Next step: so should council approve the suggested motion, staff will complete the study grant application. If that application is successful, the district will retain one or more third parties to undertake work that is eligible for study grant fund use. And then staff will continue to seek potential grant funding opportunities to help defray project costs. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief. And good for you for finding this grant. There's so few of these that come up that are eligible for fire hall replacement. It's ridiculous, actually. Do you happen to know how old our fire hall is?
Through the mayor, not exactly, because it was built in stages, and there's you may come as a surprise, but there's not good records on when it was actually built. I actually went to the building department early on when I was hired here to try and answer that question, and I couldn't find any building permits and any notable paperwork from when it actually was built. Best guess is it's about 50 years old.
Right.
Yeah.
And it has had like some new stairs and whatnot put in recently, but
Yes.
just Band-Aids, really.
Through the mayor, yeah, exactly. That's a Band-Aid solution. Another area where we're walking on thin ice is the roof, and I had an assessment on the roof early on when I got hired 6 years ago as well, and they said, yeah, it could be fine for 5 years. It could go tomorrow. So want to hopefully get on top of things, not have to invest in a new roof on a building we're getting rid of. Obviously, it doesn't make good fiscal sense.
Yeah, and the that study that was done in 2022, the fire hall feasibility study, that did look at alternate locations too, didn't it?
Through the mayor, it did somewhat, yeah. It assessed some that were already established. Basically, that report, which we'll be able to use as part of the funding already. So we've actually got a lot of the homework already done as far as those requirements. But what that study basically did was weigh our options of a major renovation to the current facility, rebuild and tear down on the same site, or new construction on an alternate site. And the site at that time that had been brought up over the years was Tugwell Field, basically in the area over where the food bank is now. But it came to light during that study that that's perhaps not the best, even though there's a great amount of space there, but the access is a big issue. It's distance from Peninsula Road. The fact that Forbes Road at that time was, we knew there was going to be a subdivision at the end. Now we have one. So that road's going to get a lot busier. It's windy, narrow, all sorts of bad reasons. So I feel like there's potentially better sites.
Yeah, interesting. And would the new fire hall be built to accommodate a ladder truck potentially?
Through the mayor, absolutely, yes. The new fire hall, great question, would be built to be a 50, 75-year-old building, and that's definitely on the radar, yeah.
Great, because currently we can service 3-story buildings, but really nothing higher than that. Is that right?
Through the mayor, that's correct, and even that is a stretch given the topography of some of our 3-story buildings. Water's Edge, for instance, one being nice and close to the rocky shore on the side. It's hard to put a ground ladder on. You need a certain amount of space. You need for every 3 stories you go up, you need to go basically one part out in order to have a appropriate, safe operating angle on your ladder. So yeah, there's some challenges we currently have for sure to do with height.
Great. Any questions from council to staff? No, seeing none. There is a suggested motion if anybody would like to make that.
Make it.
I'd love to if you can hear me. Oh, Jen's ahead of me.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right.
Councillor Nasty, go ahead.
I'll move that council authorize the District of Ucluelet to submit an application to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Green Municipal Fund study, new construction of municipal and community buildings program, seeking 80% funding for a $200,000 fire hall replacement study project. The district will provide $40,000 in matching funds from the 2025 capital budget.
Thank you, Councillor Mafty. Do I have a seconder?
I will second.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion?
No, I just want to add that I think we're asking so much of these volunteers. We've got a great force in our fire department, and I think the fact that they've had this old building for so long, you guys deserve a new building ASAP. So
Thank you very much.
let's do the most we can for that.
It's particularly drafty in the winter, I've heard. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chief. The second report item is Pacific Rim Summer Festival event. This report will be presented by our Director of Community Services, Ms. Fortune.
Thank you, Mayor. And just waiting for some technical, sorry, I was having some technical difficulty today. There we go. Oh. Oh.
You jinxed it.
Oh no. Apparently don't let me near anything right now. So I'm here to talk to you about the Pacific Rim Summer Festival event. And can I get the next slide, please, Flo? So the Pacific Rim Arts Society and the Break are partnering for an annual summer festival open concert on the June 30th. Oh, is that can you read that? Oh. So, corner of Helen Road and Fraser Lane. A special event application has been submitted and addressing all the things that you see on that list. They'll be gating off a liquor permit area, and the volunteers will ensure no one goes beyond the permit area with alcohol. And the concert will take place from 6 to 10 p.m. Flo, can I have the next slide, please? So this is the area that we're talking about. As you can see, the top area is where the break is currently, and the bottom left-hand corner, sorry, backwards here, left-hand corner is what they're looking at doing. We do have the proponents here if you have any questions for them, or if you have any questions for me.
Thank you. I did attend this event last year, and it was really well organized and an excellent evening. Any questions for staff from council?
No, I'll add that I've been to both of them, and they were super fun. They were a really good time, and we had some guests in our that folks from out of town that went to that event and wanted to move here after that. So I don't know. It's a thumbs up from them.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. So any questions for Ms. Fortune? No. Seeing none, there are two recommendations. And should they be moved separately? Yes. Okay. Anyone want to take a stab at those?
I'll do it.
Councillor Hoare.
I will move that council permit the Pacific Rim Art Society and the Break Cafe and Bistro to use district land to host the opening event for the Praz Summer Festival on Monday, June 30th, 2025. The intent is to extend their special occasion liquor, SOL, license to the district's picnic table area, Helen Road and Fraser Lane.
Thank you, Councillor Hoare. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? Councillor Mafty?
Yeah, I'm voting in favor, and I just wanted to make a brief point. At the last meeting, we all attended the discussion about the role of municipalities in supporting initiatives that would try to reduce the misuse of alcohol, and basically like what role do municipalities have in terms of how alcohol is perceived and promoted. And it was food for thought, and an event like this, I think it really can be interpreted one of two ways, and I personally think that this is a great opportunity to bring the community together. I'm happy to vote in support of it. And I think it just behooves us to make sure that an event like this goes off well and leaves people feeling like this is a positive celebratory atmosphere, rather than just sort of opening the floodgates to consuming alcohol willy-nilly here, there, and everywhere. So not trying to rain on the parade. I'm looking forward to being there, but it was just on my mind when it came up in the agenda, and I thought I'd say something. But that's all I've got to say, and I'm definitely in favor of this.
Thanks, Councillor Mafty. Any further discussion?
I wholeheartedly agree with Councillor Mafty. I've actually been having some conversations with Faye Mazar from Island Health about potentially looking at developing an alcohol policy. So just how we go about things like that. So I completely agree. This is a great event and it's organized very well. And I've got to say, in some ways, shuts down a little early, which is nice, earlier than some. But yeah, I think it's not a bad idea to be thinking about how we promote events with alcohol use.
Thank you for your comments. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. And there is a part 2, Councillor Hoare, if you want to.
Right, I muted myself prematurely there. I will also move that council further support. Okay, try that again. The council further support the Break and Praz's special occasion license application to allow liquor in the outlined area on district land as laid out in Appendix B.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion?
Oh, does Mark have a...
Councillor Mafty, do you have further discussion?
No, I'm trying to beat the lag. I was just trying to vote in favor of the second part of that motion. I'm really sorry about the lag. No discussion, vote in favor.
Okay, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Thank you. It'll be nice to have you back here, Councillor Mafty.
Thank you.
I'm really looking forward to it.
For the record, I kind of love the time lag. It makes for some fun.
I don't know if I should feel like I'm ever so slightly in the future, but it's more familiar for me to think like I'm always just a little bit lagging behind. So there we go. I'm happy to join you guys in person for the next one, that's for sure.
Great, thank you. The last report item is Economic Development Committee appointment, and it will be presented by our Manager of Corporate Services, Mr. Chow.
Through Mayor to Council, this is a housekeeping item. Basically, following the resignation of former Councillor Kennington, we recommend the Council to appoint Mayor McQueen in his place and rescind his previous appointment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from Council? Nope. All right, there are 2 motions and they can be read together.
I can do it.
Thank you, Councillor Hoare.
I will move that council appoint Mayor McEwen to the Economic Development Committee, and further that council rescind the appointment of Mr. Kennington to the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion?
Didn't you preemptively attend a meeting last week?
I did. Well, a part of a meeting. I left the forum a little bit early to jump in and see what they were all about. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? None opposed, that carries. Thank you. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, there is one correspondence item. Would council like to bring it forward for discussion? It is from the Mayor of Enderby regarding economic stabilization. It's legislation in response to the tariffs from the USA. I think it kind of speaks for itself. Okay, Mayor's announcements and Council Committee reports. Two things I'd like to announce. The Parks and Recreation master plan is looking for feedback, and I attended the session yesterday, but there's also one today here at the community center, and then again tomorrow at Amphitrite House, I believe. And so that's one way of providing input. You can attend in person, or you can complete a survey. And there's a QR code that will take you to the survey. Is the survey also on our website? Do you know? Yes, it is. Okay. And yeah, so it's providing input. Just on, well, the one I attended yesterday, I just had 2 questions, which were pretty straightforward and broad, but regarding facilities, programs, and events. So if anyone gets a chance, please do participate in that. And then I wanted to make sure everyone is aware of the second annual Red Carpet Gala fundraiser, which is a joint event put on by the Ucluelet Volunteer Fire Rescue and Pacific Rim Arts Society. And that's happening May 31st here at the community center, 7 p.m. till midnight. And food is by Heartwood Kitchen. Tickets are available at the Praz office or online. And the early bird price, I believe, is still happening for $80. But as we get closer, that price will go up to $100. So now's the time to get your ticket. All right, Councillor Anderson, what have you been up to?
What have I been up to? I wanted to mention that there were 3 back-to-back weekends for surf contests that were actually pretty significant, and they're growing in size. So the first one is the smaller of the 3, which was 3 weeks ago, and that was the Off the Lip, where they have a bunch of kids that are coached up there in Tofino and Ucluelet, and their contest was at Cox Bay, and that was exciting. And then not last weekend, the weekend before, was the Triple Plank. And the Triple Plank is skateboarding, snowboarding, and surfing all together. And I think it's the only one of its kind in the world right now. I could be wrong on that, but I think it is. There used to be another one somewhere in California, but they don't do that anymore. So it was pretty astounding to find out that there were over 235 to 250 competitors in the event, and it was wild. So like the Surf Junction campground was completely rented out for that. They had the party thereafter. And I want to say between competitors and spectators, it could have been close to 1,000 people that came to this, which was great. And that's at Mount Washington for the snowboard part. The surf part is up at Cox Bay, and the skateboard park was at the Tofino Skate Park, because it's a little bit bigger than ours, I guess, in size. So yeah, that was. I just wanted to mention, and then the third one that was last weekend was the actual nationals and the Grom Search. So that's Rip Curl puts that on for searching for the young folks for sponsorship, but then also these are the nationals, and then these are the people who win this go on to the ISA event, which are the Olympic hopefuls. So this is a really big deal. So basically Team Canada is being formed right now, which is awesome. And then last Wednesday was the Economic Development Committee, which he popped into, which was great. And one of the things that we talked about there that maybe I'll be having a chat with a few folks is expanding our daycare capacity, because that was a big thing. So as the town grows and more businesses are here, there's more people in need of having a place to put their little ones. So I think it's over 50 people on the wait list for a daycare right now. So yeah, I think that's about it for me.
Great, thank you. Councillor Hoare?
Yeah, definitely way too many peeps on the childcare wait lists. We heard about that at the Committee of the Whole for Societies that we had on May 6th. It's always a great meeting because it's kind of good to hear what everybody's doing and not just as a game of telephone where one of us attends a meeting and then tries to give a précis version to everybody else on council. So I really appreciate having them all in the room or on Zoom. And they get to hear each other. It always leads to some really interesting organic working together for various things. So that was May 6th. And then on May 7th, I attended the Coming Together Forum sponsored by the Coastal Family Resource Coalition. And they do that every couple of years, and they get a lot of the healthcare peeps in a room. And it was really, really interesting. There was a discussion about two-eyed seeing presented by Anna Allen. I can't remember what group she's from, but absolutely fascinating way of looking at things. So that was a really wonderful day. And then the next day was the Clayoquot Biosphere Trust's Regional Forum, which is getting all the peeps in the room to talk about various things that are going on in districts with the First Nations, in the different fisheries groups. I discovered there were groups I'd never heard of before. Some fabulous research being done that was presented by people from DFO and various other research groups. Sat next to Barb Beasley. So in fact, I've talked about frogs a lot in the last little while for lots of reasons. And then on May 10th, I attended the Historical Society's annual plant sale, spent lots of money, fought with one of my friends for some of the plants, as we always do. There's probably photographic evidence of that. Shirley usually takes a picture of me trying to not browse the plants that are there. And for those of you that haven't attended, there are plants of every sort, house plants, garden plants, and lots of vegetables and lots of perennials. And I found a little white lilac, which I spent Mother's Day planting in a little pot so that it can grow big and strong before it is anywhere where the deer might see it. And I picked that one up for my mom. So, because she loved lilacs. So I figured it was important to spend some time on Mother's Day with my hands in the dirt. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is to give some kudos to Fire Chief Geddes, if he's still in the room, because I heard his interview in the morning on the CBC, and he was talking about beach fires as we're going into that season, because the fire department was called out to put out a beach fire that smoldered a little bit too long, but he spoke a lot about some of the rules about beach fires and where they should be and versus not be. And it was just a great educational piece and very timely. And I just kudos to him. I thought it was really good. And that's all I've got.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Hoare. And Chief Geddes is still in the room, so he's happy to have your feedback, I'm sure. Councillor Mafty.
Sadly, I don't have anything to report personally. I heard lots of good things about the CBT event that I was, really keen to hear some follow up from various folks who attended. And I wish I could have been there, but I've been away since our last meeting.
Great. It'll be great to have you back, as I said.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, for myself, May 1st, I had a meeting with our school trustee, Cynthia Orr, just to touch base on some commonalities between the district and the school district that we can work together on. So that was a nice sort of first time meeting, and we vowed to do it more often. May 2nd, I attended Dwayne's retirement dinner at Amphitrite House. It was really nice to be in that space, that newly built actually, space. So that was lovely, and we went from storm watching to sunshine all in the space of a couple of hours. It was pretty cool. May 6th, I did attend also the Committee of the Whole meeting. There were 11 nonprofit groups that attended either in person or by Zoom. And you're right, Councillor Anderson, the daycare reported that there are actually 76 children on the wait list right now and 52 of them for Little Beans. Yeah, that's a lot of children looking for daycare. On the 7th, I attended the CBT Coming Together Forum as well here at the UCC. There were 85 people registered, and it felt like the room was about that crowded. There were a lot of people there. The keynote speaker in the morning was Anna Allen, as Councillor Hoare mentioned, and her talk was really interesting, mainly about trauma and what trauma actually is and how to deal with it. So that was quite interesting. The 8th, I also attended the CBT Regional Forum here again at the UCC. There were about 30 organizations that spoke about what they're up to as far as sustainable development and environmental restoration and research. So that was extremely interesting as well. On the 9th, and later on the 8th, I went to the launch party of Resurf, which is down sort of below Jiggers in the Quonset hut. You were there. And that was amazing. That reminded me of Yuki days. It was, people just kept coming down that hill, like for hours. It was packed down there. And so that's Daniel Rabb. Has sort of spearheaded that with Surfrider Canada, and that's all about. You probably know more than I do, but it's about recycling and upcycling.
Yeah, it's an interesting. They're actually handling the warranties for all wetsuits, so it's agnostic for brand. So almost any wetsuit brand, whatever you have, they do the warranties for all of Canada, goes through there. This is incredible that Daniel put this together. We're all so proud of him for doing this. But and then Surfrider, I think originally offered some money, and he thought, oh, maybe I'll do something, and then that grew into a much bigger thing. So I think it was $500,000 to get this up and running, and it's great. So they also bought one of these big machines that shreds old wetsuits, so they can actually recycle wetsuits there. So they do all the warranties and send them out to the different companies for repair, or do the repairs themselves. But then also, if it's the end of life for a wetsuit, then they'll put it in this machine, and they can pulverize it up, and they can put that into like yoga mats or things like that. Or there's some types of wetsuits that can actually be recycled into new wetsuits. Basically just put into a powder, and it can be reused for certain types. So that's really neat. And then the third thing that they do is they recycle surfboards. Right. So those big soft tops, they can peel them off and make new boards out of what was inside of those. So it's a big sort of green sustainability, good story all around. And yeah, it's interesting. The head of Surfrider Canada was there, the executive director, and he used to work for the Minister of Environment, or the Ministry of Environment. So yeah, it was pretty interesting group. You gave a great speech. That was awesome. You got up on stage.
I was asked. I'm just so pleased that they chose Ucluelet to have this facility. It's pretty amazing. On May the 9th in the morning was the bi-weekly tariff meeting on Teams. Gord John he initiated these meetings, but then when he was campaigning, he sort of turned it over to Josie to lead. And but now this was the first one on the 9th where he was back again, as well as Josie, to just to go over what legislation is being tabled to help combat the tariffs. So that's always an interesting. It's usually just a half-hour meeting, but it's always great to catch up on that stuff. And then later on that day, myself and Mr. Harding met with Mako and Chris at the Food Bank on the Edge, the brand new building over at Forbes. So that was nice to get a little private tour of the new building. And then yesterday I went to the Parks and Rec Master Plan here at the Community Center. So that was it for me. We're now moving on to question period. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions and comment on matters within Council's jurisdiction. Representations about bylaws that Council is prohibited from holding a public hearing on, or bylaws that were subject to a public hearing, are not permitted at this time. Are there any audience members that wish to address Council? That would be no, there's nobody here. All right, are there any members of the public attending by Zoom or telephone that wish to address Council? No. And have we received any emails to communityinput@ucluelet.ca during the meeting? No. All right, so we are not doing an in-camera session this evening, so I will move to adjourn the May 13th, 2025 regular council meeting at 4:49. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Thank you.